Hey guys, Huzz here, bringing you another video. Now before we get into this video, I just wanted to explain what it exactly is. And it is a tournament game between Bananas in Tuxedos versus AZO, AbsoluteZero, which is my team. You can see the roster over there on the right. I am the jungler for AZO, Fi is the AD carry, Veil support, Harpastor mid lane, and Duffman top. And yeah, I just thought I'd upload this. I had permission from EGL to upload the whole game with the casters to give you guys a little bit more sense of what I actually do when we're doing, tournament games. Now, just a quick thing, there is an annotation right now if you just want to skip directly towards the game. That starts about 10 minutes in. If not, you have the whole build-up of Champion Select. And also, occasionally, there will be a grey screen because it is from a Twitch VOD. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy it and, yeah, enjoy the game.
It is a wonderful day for League of Legends. It is also a wonderful day for our EGL Summoners Cup number 22 any ranked tournament, with which we are back now. It's going to be the round of 16 match between Bananas in Tuxedos on the blue side and AbsoluteZero on the red side. My name is The Pash, and casting alongside me will be my good friend and colleague, Elthazar.
Yes. I should have been casting the first round, but technical difficulties on my end meant that I was not present. However, those have now hopefully been resolved, and we can bring you, as you said, this round of 16 game. Very excited to see how this will go. We've seen Bananas and Tuxedos so many times before in the Summoners Cup, and we are into Champion Select.
We are indeed. Bananas and Tuxedos. Their name is a bit too magnificent for our overlay, so it's Bananas and Tux dot, but it should be obvious what we mean. But yes, Vi banned right away from them. The Cassidy banned from AbsoluteZero. Let's just skim over that. Not really that surprising. And the Elise getting taken out as well.
Yep, Yasuo just being taken out as well by the members of AbsoluteZero. The mid-focus right here, actually, Ziggs goes out as well. They're trying to take... I was going to say the assassination potential of the middle lane is being reduced by the bans of AbsoluteZero, of course. Kassadin's roaming is amazing, and if you can combo a couple of knockups and have a Yasuo on team, then things are likely to go very nicely for you. But they're also removed Ziggs, or Bananas and Tuxedos have rather, and last ban comes out as a Shyvana, so they're removing some of the tanky engage potential that Bananas and Tuxedos could take in the early stages of the game.
Well, I'm having a little bit of deja vu here, because that's pretty much how the last banning phase went down as well, when it still was Vanity Gaming versus Team Sex Peke. Except for that Shyvana, but still, Vi, Catherine, Elise, Yasuo, Ziggs, and the Thresh first pick for the blue side, so that's pretty similar to that. But now we do see some differences as AbsoluteZero pick up the Gragas for themselves, along with a Renekton for the top lane.
Renekton usually a fairly safe cup to go for early in Champion Select. He's very strong in most lane matchups. If you do counter him in some way, he's usually pretty safe anyway. He's got great sustain from Kill the Meek, and of course, if he can slice and dice through an enemy, then that's pretty strong escape coming out from him as well. Gragas is incredibly meta right now. His damage is incredibly high. The crowd control potential that he does gain from his explosive cast is absolutely wonderful as well. And we do actually see now picks being hovered over by Bananas and Tuxedos at their second and third. Trundle being picked up as potential counter pick to Renekton. I mean, any attack damage reduction against Renekton does weaken his trading potential, but I'm not sure how that lane's actually going to go down. Trundle versus Renekton, I can imagine it's going to be a lot of face whacking and not too much actual damage going down. And we also see Clever being a little bit clever going for Caitlyn. We've seen that in the LCS. And Caitlyn and Bresh lane is very, very strong, very hard to poke against at higher levels, or rather very hard to poke against if you don't want to get a death sentence to the face.
And we just saw that exact same lane for Team Sex Peke, and while it worked pretty well for them in the early stages of the game, they got a bit behind, well, a bit in the later stages, and that was that AbsoluteZero picking up the Lucian for themselves, so if they do go for that Annie, well, it's going to be the exact same match that we just saw. Wonder how that will play out. Has been more of a common pick lately, but still not that common.
Yeah, we're very much in the grip of tank meta right now. Wukong, I would say, is more of a bruiser than a tank, if built tanky, but I think actually the strongest way to build him, early game at least, is for that assassination potential. If you can get into a lane using decoy, get E, get Q, fire off the Cyclone, then you're going to be dealing a lot of damage, and it allows for a great follow-up from your teammates, so long as you've got good communication between those two lanes.
Very much indeed. Ari getting hovered over along with the Pantheon for Bananas and Tuxedos. Pantheon gonna be in the jungle, or it's gonna be a Trundle jungle. It's actually quite interesting to see what Bananas and Tuxedo will go for here. One thing's for sure though, Ari is gonna be in that middle lane going up against the Gragas. And the support pickup for AbsoluteZero is still to be seen. And Annie wouldn't really surprise me because we just saw that. And Annie Illusion is just such a strong lane, but actually they're hovering over Leona here, which is also a very strong pick along with Illusion.
Leona Illusion is definitely one of the strongest lanes, in my opinion, in the current meta. The ability to lock down someone so hard with Leona means that Lucian can consistently land piercing lights, get bonus movement speed from proccing off Ardent Blazes, and the chase down from that lane is very, very strong. It's basically going to be up to Aixie to make sure he can land good flays, otherwise Clever may be in a lot of trouble in that lane.
Yeah, indeed. It remains to be seen if they do actually go for it, but because there has not been a lot of hovering, and the timer did run close to running out, they do lock it in, and now we're going to see where everyone goes here. I'm going to scratch on that once the delayed period has hit, because it could be a surprise play by Bananas and Tuxedos, because there are two champions that could potentially go both top and jungle. But we can still go through the team compositions. On the blue side, Bananas in Tuxedos, with either Trundle or Pantheon in the top lane, either Trundle or Pantheon in the jungle. Ari in the middle lane, played by Aixie, and in the bottom lane is going to be Clever and Exhaust, playing Caitlyn and Thresh.
And on the red side, for AbsoluteZero, we will have AbsoluteZero Duffman in the top lane, playing that Renekton. AbsoluteZero Huzz in the jungle, playing Wukong. Half Past Thor, playing Gragas in the middle lane. And then we have Fi and Veil, playing Lucian and Leona, respectively. It does look like we are going to go into the delay period with these picks hovered over. Yes, we do. So Wolfish EU is in the jungle, playing Pantheon. Numlocked is in the top lane on that Trundle. And the jungle Pantheon doesn't surprise me too much. We have seen his presence in the LCS, of course. Shook played it for Alliance in their win against Fnatic earlier in the week. So maybe taking a little bit from Shook's play with that pick.
Yeah, it does give them a lot of pressure all over the map with that Grand Skyfall always looming over AbsoluteZero's heads. But actually looking at it, what do you expect? What lane will we see the most action on? And I think the answer to that is, well, Renekton versus Trundle is the battle of the tanks. Battles of tanks are never really exciting unless there's jungler intervention. Jungle's going to be an interesting one, but yeah, it's probably going to be that bottom lane.
I would likely agree. In the early stages of the game, Aixie is going to solely focus on getting farm, I would say. I mean, if you can land a charm onto Half Past Thor, then you can get some good poke down. But Ari pre-6 is basically trying to farm up for good items, back as soon as possible, or try and go all in at level 6. And then back, grab some strong items, and start looking for roaming, because of course Ari's roaming ganks, if you can land a charm onto an important target, is absolutely devastating in the early stages of the game.
They really definitely have very nice ways to engage fights. Either a hook lands or a charm lands, and if Wolfish EU is in the vicinity, he can use his Grand Skyfall to join the party as well. So that's probably going to be their main focus here. Bananas and Tuxedos farming up the early game, getting strong, and then using that advantage with all the opportunities they have. But AbsoluteZero is also not really a slack when it comes to team fighting.
But definitely not. They do have great AoE crowd control with the explosive cast coming out from Gragas, the Cyclone of Wukong, and of course the Solar Flare from Leona is very, very nice. Renekton, an ever-present threat in team fights as well, with the Dominus for good AoE damage, but there's a kind of counter pick there with Numlocked, because if he can wait to use Subjugate until after Duffman has used the Dominus, then he's actually going to steal a larger portion of health from Duffman, and potentially extra amounts of armor and magic resist depending on how he builds, but you remember, you don't gain extra magic resist and armor from utilizing Dominus.
Yeah, right, sure, indeed. So it's looking to be an interesting game. Both teams going for very teamfight heavy compositions, but I think Bananas and Tuxedos will actually have the edge here when it comes to sieging, because they also got nice opportunities for the wave clear. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how everything pans out. There are no really big surprises in terms of summoner spells, no teleports. No, yeah, both supports running... No, actually, Leona's running Exhaust, which is a valid choice. But lately, supports have been all about running that Ignite, just so they can be able to get that kill, which is just running away from you with less than 10 HP. And we did see that exact same thing happening, First Blood going down to Team Sexpeke because of the Ignite. So that's going to be not an opportunity for AbsoluteZero, but still. They've got a fairly aggressive lane with that Lucian and Leona.
Definitely. Leona, very, very strong engagement at the game, of course. Zenith Blade into Shield of Daybreak allows Fi to put a lot of damage down. It's basically a guaranteed hit on the Piercing Light, which guarantees a Light Slinger passive. If you can follow up with the Ardent Blaze in decent time afterwards as well, then you've got 2 procs, which is great burst. Also, Lucian, you said that Bananas and Tuxedos had the siege advantage. I would say that it's actually more even, because Lucian does have good wave clear. Piercing Light does less damage to minions, but it still deals considerable damage and procs Light Slinger. And if the going gets really, really tough, then he can, of course, use the culling, which some of my friends have colloquially come to know as the lawnmower.
Well, it certainly does mow the lawn, whether it's champions or minions, but you're not going to have any weeds there anymore once you use that culling.
Definitely not. I'm surprised you haven't asked your normal question about level 1, but...
I was just about to do that.
Level 1's not a massive thing anymore, is it?
It's true. It's true. It used to be in Season 3 before all the changes came down, where First Blood was really a very, very important objective for a team to pick up, but prior to 4 minutes into the game, that's not the case anymore. And we're actually now into the game 30 seconds later than it actually started, due to some client issues apparently, but that's not a problem because we do still get to see all of the action, and that action seems to be not right now, as both teams are defending their jungle line. Nobody really going for anything aggressive this early on.
Well, as you said, going aggressive early on is only really done in an attempt to try and get summoners out of a lane. So, if Bananas and Tuxedos did go for an invade, or of course AbsoluteZero respectively, then they'd be trying to force a flash of, say, the AD carry or the support, so that they could get an early gank into that bottom lane and try and pick up First Blood off that.
Yeah. But that's not going to happen as it seems, unless one team now groups up and makes a move. It's going to be fairly standard jungle starts. Does look like Pantheon will start off with his blue buff, while Wukong is hovering around his red buff. So both junglers starting in the top side of the jungle, or actually not. Wukong now going to move down and pick up his own blue buff as well. So both junglers starting with the blue buffs, all going to go through quite flawlessly.
It does mean that Huzz is going to get his buff slightly quicker, of course, because he does have the assistance from that bottom lane, which means more damage, and of course, that stacks out to a faster achievement of the buff. It's going down very, very quickly. Huzz will smite that away when it goes below the critical health of 390 at level 1. We do now just see Wolfishiyu picking up his blue buff. It's going to take him a little while longer to go straight through his minions as well, but they are both level 2 and on their way in the early stages of the game.
No, now Wukong and Pantheon starting on the opposite side of the map will obviously mean that at the end of their jungle route they will end up on opposite sides of the map as well. And I think Wukong's going to have an easier time ganking Numlocked than Trundle, than Wolfishiyu is going to have ganking Exhaust and Clever. Ganking, oh god, Veil and Fi.
Yes, it's most likely, because of course, we already see the fact that Exhaust and Clever arching that bottom lane out, which is usually something that bottom lanes like to do. It kind of forces some loss of CS if AD carries aren't particularly good at clearing under the tower. At this level, almost every player is Plat and Diamond in this game, so it's not entirely difficult to do, however.
Yeah, they are aware of that Wukong is going to end up on top, because they're pushing out the lane really heavily without placing any wards. Now we do see a ward coming out of Exhaust, with Wukong moving into the top lane, potentially looking for something here. His level 3 does have his decoy available to get in quickly, and Duffman is certainly luring Lumlock into something here, but in the mid lane, Wolfie Shiyu also waiting off to the side, looking for something onto that Gragas, but he will just use his body slam. And the top lane, they're actually going in onto Numlock here. He's going very low, has to walk through a lot of champions. Flash is forced. Nice pillar. Keeps Duffman away from himself, and he will be able to survive this one.
Yeah, good survival right there by Numlock. Didn't take an amazing amount of damage. Did have to burn his flash, which means that if Huz wants to come back into the lane later, then that won't be a particular problem for him.
No, certainly not. Hook attempted by Exhaust. Hits a minion, but Huz is waiting for something here.
Coming in on the middle lane, Xy's actually...
Not the middle lane, there they go, and Xy going very low, but they will not be able to pick up the kill.
Actually, meanwhile, in comes...
In the bottom lane, the hook lands onto Vale, and there's 3 members of Bananas and Tuxedos ready to make something out of that, but they will not be able to pick up the kill.
I've just got word from the admins.
Yeah, that got fixed. That got fixed. It was my streaming program acting up once more. But yeah, we didn't miss anything. There were a couple of attempts, and actually another hook lands onto Vale. But Wukong is there, so they can easily turn this one around. Exhaust going very low, forced to burn his flash. Clever, not forced to burn anything, because they do back away after Exhaust flashes, but that's certainly something to be quite happy with.
Yeah, flash burned by Huz there. He is sticking around, looking for potentially some more aggression. I actually think a Wukong pick would have comboed better with the Thresh, but of course, since Bananas and Tuxedos did have that first pick, they were more than willing to take that away.
Yeah, and they can be. Already aggression happening all over the map.
Yeah, fairly uniform across the map, as we said. Duffman and Unlocked locking heads, but not really doing too much damage to one another. Nothing that will really carry over that much to later on in the game. Numlock did back out earlier. He has actually picked up a Doran's Blade just to allow himself to sustain slightly better off-hitting minions.
Yeah, it's certainly going to help, along with that Vampiric Scepter. And Leona, going for the Ancient Coin, is going to go for the Medallion here, is not such a big surprise.
No, definitely not. It's usually will start off with the Doran Shield just for that reduction from the passive on basic attacks. And then second item is usually the instant they back, they grab the Ancient Coin and switch the Warding Totem Trinket for the Sweeping Lens as soon as they pick up a Sidestone.
Yeah, that's all gonna happen here, but Duffman may be in trouble here in the top lane. Just gonna slice and dice away from this one. There's really no kill potential just yet because everyone has ways to get away and or mitigate a gank attempt, and that's pretty much what we have seen happen so far. There have been summoners burned, there has been quite a bit of damage going down onto some of the targets, but none of the teams have been able to turn those into a kill right now. Both junglers now picking up their Spirit Stones here. There's really nothing out of the ordinary in this game.
Yep, as I said, fairly uniformly by the book. Damage going down, to no one's great surprise, Benekton is pushing the lane against the Trundle. Of course, having Call the Meek, it pretty much instantly means that he is going to push due to the fact that Trundle has no AoE ability at all.
Yeah, that's true. Thresh seems to be going for an early Sightstone here. Having picked up that Ruby Crystal, and that's usually something to do on Thresh as well. Because you want the early health, you usually build a Thresh pretty tanky. I do think he's going to pick up the Ancient Coin quite soon as well, though.
Yeah, meanwhile, Half Past Thor does pick up his blue buff. He is going to get that a little bit before Xy. Wolfishiyu is heading in that direction. You actually see Xy leaving his middle lane to go and play that. Actually, no, he's actually backing out. He has pushed the lane towards Half Past Thor, so he's going to have no vision of this as he returns to the base and picks up for himself an instantly large rod. So 58 CS this early in the game, he goes straight back and picks up a very nice damage boost. That could more than likely go for Deathfire Grasp because it stacks so well with Charm. Charm, of course, increasing the magic damage she deals against its target, and Deathfire Grasp having virtually the same effect. They do not stack in the normal fashion, though, they stack multiplicatively. Oh wow, that is a difficult word to say. They do not stack correctly, is probably the best way of saying it.
Yeah.
So it's not straight up 40% damage increase, it is somewhere in the realm of 30+%. Still pretty damn nice.
In the top lane, they're having a little dance off here. Both teams are really looking to get themselves an advantage here in either CS or positioning, or even get a few summoners out. But things are so even, so mundanely even. Nothing's really happened so far. We are 8 minutes and 40 seconds into the game, so all the summoners that have been burned are back by now. The only flash that's not up yet, the only flashes that are not up yet are on Bananas and Tuxedo's side. And those are in Exhaust and Wolfish EU, but those will be up pretty shortly as well, and then everything will be back on even footing. There have not been plays by either team just yet. And that's pretty much...
Both junglers have now hit level 6, so we could see engagements come down. We actually do see Huzz coming into the bottom lane. There are no wards in that side brushed by Exhaust, so he's...
Oh, there's the Grand Skyfall, and that's going to be a big fight in the bottom lane. Wukong going in, using the Cyclone onto Clever. He's going very low. Culling burned by Fight, dealing damage from behind. Flash Force out of Wolfish EU. The ace in the hole, not going to land onto Huzz as Yale picks it up. Exhaust going very low. Will the minions be able to pick him up? No! He survives with 19 HP. No kills there, but that was the first major engagement down there. Now Ixie comes in from the middle lane. Half-past Thor forced to body slam away.
Very, very strong Dark Siege coming out from Exhaust, saving his life for sure. Not the strongest shield in the game, but just about enough to keep him alive. Duffman watching on from his chair in the top lane as he backs. Does actually get interrupted by the Pillar of Ice coming out from Numlocked, who laughs at his misfortune.
Yeah, Numlocked is really very bold here. Well, not bold in the sense of playing, but he does like to dance into Duffman's face and also laugh into his face. Now he actually goes aggressive into his face. The Ignite is down, Flash is forced out, but there's the Flash and another auto attack, and the first blood goes over to him 10 minutes into the game.
And that is why Subjugate is so strong against those tanky top laners. Steals health, steals armor, steals magic resist, turns Trundle from a damaging bruiser into a full-blown tank and an absolute menace to the entirety of their team.
And now...
Meanwhile, we do actually see the other members of Bananas and Tuxedos going straight towards the dragon. No ward coverage by AbsoluteZero, so this is going to be an uncontested dragon. That's going to stack up just over 1,000 gold lead for them at closing all 11 minutes into the game. No turrets down at this stage.
Yeah, they did see that the bottom lane did back away. Gragas was also nowhere to be seen in the middle lane. It could have been a fairly risky dragon, especially since Gragas does have his ultimate, and he is known to be able to steal quite well. But they did go for it, and Wukong and Gragas were back in lane between their two turrets. Oh, actually, nice solar flare landing onto Clever, hitting him as he 90 calibers away, but the Zenith Blade does not quite connect onto Exhaust, so nothing more is going to come from that. No summoners burned, no anything, just the ultimate from Vale, able to stun Caitlyn, but they're not able to really capitalize on that.
Also, Exhaust put down a really flame, knocking back Vale and Vi, so they couldn't land a good Zenith Blade. We do actually see in the top lane, Huff is there.
As uses the decoy, goes in, there's the Cyclone knocking him up, and he's still running away, and I think he will be able to get away from this one. The Ignite is down, he just uses the Frozen Domain outside of his own position, though. Then his blade landing into the bottom lane onto Clever, but they turn the aggression out around quite nicely. It does seem like AbsoluteZero are aware of what to do, but Bananas and Tuxedos are also aware of what to do when the Zenith Blade lands.
Yeah, we did actually see Wolfish EU into the jungle of Huzz. He was maybe attempting a steal or two or come around behind that bottom lane. Unfortunately, he was not able to do so, so he retreats back into his own jungle. And Duffman backs once again from this top lane.
He does, yes. He's not a CS advantage, though, so he can do that. Hook landing on the bottom lane, but there was really nothing to capitalize from that. Leona could have gone in, but I'm not sure if that would have been the best idea since the box was available from Exhaust. But Lucian does have a nice advantage right now over the Caitlyn because she did not go back and buy yet, so he's sitting on a BF sword on top of that Vampiric Scepter. But once Clever does decide to go back, he will be probably picking up that as well. Remains to be seen if he does go for the Infinity Edge early start, which is quite common on Caitlyn, or if he does go for the Bloodthirster, which is also quite common on Caitlyn.
4 members of Bananas and Tuxedos going straight in for a blue steal.
Oh, the hook lands onto Huzz, but they're not really going in onto this. He's rather just going to decoy and go in and pick up the blue buff. They're able to pick up Wolfish EU here. Dennis Blade landing onto Exhaust. He's in a bunch of trouble. Solar Frill not quite connecting, but there's the culling used to deal some damage onto Axie. They're still going after her, but they will not be able to pick her up. She is just a little bit too fast, or will they actually try to go for it? Nice Spirit Rush dodges the Zenith Blade and gets her out alive. Still, 2-for-1 trade in favor of AbsoluteZero.
Yeah, the members of Bananas and Tuxedos maybe getting a little bit reckless. They have vision over the jungle, but they didn't have it in the right places. They did not see the wolf camp where Huzz and Half-Past Thor were coming around. So, got caught out of position and suffered 2 deaths for it.
For 2 deaths for it, indeed. But because they have picked up that dragon earlier, they're still fairly even in gold despite giving up 2 kills. Also, the first blood went over to them, and Numlocked again going aggressive onto Duffman, nicely placing a pillar into his way. There's the Ignite, and the Subjugate has also been used. It's good going to dive this, but there's the dominance out of Duffman, and that pretty much tells him, do not dive me. It's not a good idea. And here comes Wukong, though. So if Numlock does decide to go aggressive, Duffman is making himself into a pretty juicy target right now. And here's the Grand Skyfall coming out of Bananas Tuxedos. Wolfish EU jumping in. Wukong now coming in as well, using the Cyclone, knocking both Wolfish EU and Numlocked up. Duffman's going to slice back in. Huzz trying to take down Wolfish EU, gets blocked, but he will be able to pick him up with another auto attack. And now Numlock's going to be in trouble as well. Uses the Frozen Domain, trying to get away, but Huzz will just charge onto him, use the decoy, another auto attack, double kill for AbsoluteZero.
Very good engagement there. Saw the Grand Skyfall from behind, but Huzz was off in that tri-bush. Decoyed in, got a great engage, landed Cyclone on both of them. Great damage went down, double kill as you say, picked up by Huzz. Good job there. Meanwhile, Clever put a little bit of damage down onto that bottom turret since Vale and Fi were away from it. They've lowered it very considerably to less than a quarter of its health. If that can go down fairly soon, that's going to be a nice advantage for Bananas and Tuxedos, since it's just over a minute and a half till the dragon respawns.
It is indeed, and right now, oh, the Zenith Blade actually lands onto Exhaust down that bottom lane. Fi using the Rentless Pursuit to get back in, but he gets hooked! And now Clever may be looking to pick this kill up for himself. Uses the Pilled Over Peacemaker trying to do some damage, but the flash away from Fi manages to save himself. Clever nicely sent by the Solar Flare, but he will be able to 90 caliber in and land the last auto attack to pick up the kill. Going aggressive onto Vale now as well, but that's not quite enough. Still, first kill on the bottom lane for Caitlyn.
Yep, good roam down by Axie. They are going to claim the first turret of the game in this lane. Just before a minute before the dragon respawns, there's the turret down, and Clever's going to put an auto attack or 2 into Vale, but I think they may slightly suspect that Huzz is around. If they don't, then this may be very, very bad for Bananas and Tuxedos.
Well, they're certainly keeping their distance. There, the hook does land onto Exhaust, and that's the sign for Huzz to come in. Decoys out of the brush, but then goes right back as Axie shows up. Goes aggressive onto her now, but the Trump does land. Here's the Cyclone knocking them up, but he's going quite low. Ace in the hole, not quite able to pick him up as Fi is able to block it. Exhaust going very low, but he's out of the danger. Axie going aggressive onto Gragas now, actually trying to land a charm, but it hits a minion. So the Bananas and Tuxedos are able to pick up the Leona, and they're now putting some pressure onto this bottom turret.
Yeah, across the board, very strong play. We almost saw a good engagement from Huzz, but I think he revealed himself a little bit too early, and when he did, he got counteracted by Axie coming in to pick up that kill onto Leona. He didn't die for it, but he maybe waited a little bit too long for that engagement.
And now Bananas and Tuxedos is in a perfect position after that nice bottom lane fight to go for the dragon. Half-Past Thor and Fire are in the vicinity looking to contest this one. They are actually able to push Bananas and Tuxedos away from this one. Probably a good idea as Exhaust was quite low. Wolfish EU not quite willing to give this one up. But now AbsoluteZero is here in force. He's in for too long. Huzz dives in and gets the kill. And they're able to pick up the turret here, the dragon here as well.
There was a solar flare going down as well, but it didn't really start off any engagement. Locked is now actually pushing Duffman to his turret. He did finish the Sunfire Cape earlier, so AoE is very, very strong for him right now.
Yeah, Bananas and Tuxedos, they seem a little over-eager at some points. Wolfish EU really wanted to pick up that dragon, but it cost him his life and the dragon. I think if they would have backed away, they would have at least had an opportunity to contest this, because the smite was available on Wolfish EU, but with him going down, Dragon easily went over to AbsoluteZero, so nice bit of play from AbsoluteZero that resulted in a not-so-nice play from Bananas and Tuxedos, and Numlock still going really aggressive onto Duffman in the top lane. It's not giving him a hard time, basically, but still behind in CS.
Yeah, Duffman did work up a very nice lead in the early stages of the game. He's now capitalizing on it. You actually see Huzz coming around onto top lane as well, as Fate and Vale want to back out from the bottom lane.
Yeah,
Lucian
Duffman.
does already. Duffman.
Duffman has recognized that Trundle likes to go aggressive onto him, so as soon as Wukong shows up in the vicinity, he's like, here, come at me, bro. But as soon as Wukong moves away, so does Duffman.
Yes, we go back to the standard 50-50 cups of Duffman and Numlocked in the top lane. Numlocked is winning these engagements because, of course, Chomp is reducing Duffman's just all-round damage out basically. Because, of course, lower AD means lower bonus from ratios.
That is the case indeed. So, only one turret picked up yet, and that one was in favor of Bananas and Tuxedos. They're still behind in gold, but not too badly. 1,000 gold in AbsoluteZero's advantage. But Bananas and Tuxedos, they cannot really go for those bold plays that they have been doing if they want any chance at winning this game, because AbsoluteZero has shown to make use of their mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been capitalizing every time Bananas and Tuxedos step out of line. Regrettably, the Wolfshiu isn't particularly tanky yet, so he can't sustain through those fights. If he gets caught out, he is pretty much doomed to death. He only has Spirit of the Elder Lizard at this stage. He needs to grab something, most likely involving a giant spell, just bring his health up and make him survive just a little bit longer in those fights, and he can have maybe a bit more of an effect.
Yes, indeed. The bulk of AbsoluteZero now in the middle lane as both AD carry and support show up. There's no turret to defend anymore, so we might as well turn that into pressure. Charm lands onto Vale, but not enough damage to do anything to him, and so AbsoluteZero picks up their first turret of the game in the middle lane.
Yep, slightly later than the bottom lane turret by Bananas and Tuxedos, but a more advantageous turret, definitely to have by AbsoluteZero. Allows for a lot more roaming, and if Gragas wants to go for a cheeky little steal, or Wukong wants to try and wander around behind someone, it'll make it far easier for them to do that.
We'll definitely see what they do. In response to that, brings the gold a little bit more into their direction. They're almost on 1,500 gold, but still, this game is fairly even. The only real victories that we have seen for AbsoluteZero right now is because Bananas and Tuxedos messed up at some point, and if they do not continue to do that, they're going to have a nice time lessening that disadvantage that they have right now and getting themselves back into the game. They're not out of the game in any way right now. But what do you think? What do they need to do in order to really take the wheel into their hands and hold it firmly?
At the moment, the reason they're losing out is because Huzz is getting great engagements in team fights. So they either need to engage themselves and try and mitigate counter-engage by splitting up a little bit, or trying to put some distance between one another, so that Cyclone can only hit 2, but maybe 3 at a really good push. But I would say that he needs to burst down somebody. They need to lessen the damage coming out, because Huzz has got high damage, Duckman's got considerable damage, especially since he's got Brutalizer as well early on. So he's doing very well for himself, but Aixie needs to really capitalize more on the fact that he has that Deathfire Grasp. He has the high damage. There are a couple of squishies on that team. If they can get onto Half-Past Thor and lock him down, he'll die. If they can get a CC onto 5, maybe a death sentence, he will die from Ari's burst. So they really need to just focus down a single target and then farm out the rest of the fight.
Curious to see if they are able to do that. Caitlyn now having picked up her Bloodthirster early on, so that answers our question from before. Now working on either a Static Shiv or a Phantom Dancer, not sure which is quite more likely. I personally, when I play Caitlyn, I like to go for the Phantom Dancer when I'm ahead and the Static Shiv when I'm behind. We're gonna see if this Caitlyn, played by Clever, goes through the same paths in her brain. If she has similar thoughts to my build there.
In general, I think I like in the current Yes, Phantom Dancer gives you more damage, but I don't know what it is specifically, but Static Shiv just gives you a little bit more utility and the potential to deal high damage, even hitting multiple targets in a fight.
Well, it does certainly
coming up to the top lane.
Well, it does certainly help. It does certainly help with the wave clear, but Ixime actually got caught out here. Solar Flare was attempted, and as soon as Dragon is back up, AbsoluteZero are making their moves onto the. And because Wolfish EU and Numlock are both up in that top lane, they're able to go aggressive onto Ixie here, who has to burn her Spirit Rush to get away from this one. Hook lands onto her, onto Gragas, but they are able to just, well, brush it off and pick up the dragon. Second dragon of the game for AbsoluteZero.
Meanwhile, Bananas and Tuxedo's got 2 turrets in the top and middle lane, so gold lead slightly mitigated, or gold pickup from that dragon at least.
I think overall picking up 2 turrets gives more gold to your team than picking up a single dragon, so that was certainly an advantageous trade for Bananas and Tuxedos. They're still behind in gold, but there's really nothing too noteworthy here, because it's just a 1,000 lead, and we're almost 25 minutes into the game still. This game has been a rather quiet one so far.
Definitely. Only 2 kills in it at 25 minutes, and we're starting to see major items come out now, so I imagine Bananas and Tuxedos are going to want to fight fairly soon. I mean, we have just seen Numlock cut the Blade of the Ruin King on that Trundle, which is a very strong item, gives him a nice amount of attack speed, and of course that active is great for allowing him to chase down a low health enemy. Got another use a large rod on Ixie, which will probably go towards the Rabadon's Death Cap, or Azoni's Hourglass. Both would be fairly good. If you wanted to go more bursty, then Rabadon's is of course the better pickup. And as I suggested, Wolfish EU has the Giant Spell and a Cloth Armor, so it is more than likely he's going to go for a Randuin's Omen. That said, Randuin's Omen has already been picked up by his opposite number, Huz, for AbsoluteZero, so you can see there's a very, very significant advantage for Huz in the jungle. He's got about 1,500 gold over him at this stage.
Yeah, it's going to be a tanky monkey. He's also picked up 4 kills for himself. Certainly been a very menacing presence in the game so far. His engages are very strong, and that's also why you pick Wukong for the jungle, because that Cyclone is very, very nice to knock multiple people up, keep them out of the fight. And he's always been able to land them on priority targets whenever he had to. So that's certainly very nice. However, the bulk of the kills from AbsoluteZero are onto him, so that's pretty much what he needs to do. If you get kills, you do something with them, and that is what Huz has been doing.
Yeah, very strong engagements in almost every fight. The problem is, with Bananas and Tuxedos, they can't really telegraph Huz coming in, because of course there is no more Oracle's Elixir. You can get the Oracle's Lens upgrade for the Sweeping Lens, but that's still going to make it rather difficult to pinpoint Huz when a fight starts.
Well, yeah.
It is going to basically be who can kill someone faster. If Huz can get in and land a good Cyclone, then AbsoluteZero are likely to win the fight. If Ixie can land full burst onto Phi without getting crowd control, then Bananas and Tuxedos are also going to have the advantage. Someone who's clever survives.
AbsoluteZero have been grouping up and warding the entirety of the blue buff side jungle for Bananas and Tuxedos. They've moved in there as well, just to clear out all the vision that has just been gained. So it's basically a war of map control right now. Neither team really wants to go for those fights. Both teams first want to secure their position, and then maybe look for something when they have the opportunity to go for a very favorable engage.
Well, Bananas and Tuxedos for a second looked like they were going to siege up on this mid lane, but the wave clear from AbsoluteZero is fairly strong at this stage in the game. That they will clear out the waves nice and quickly, and then push the wave back to the center of the middle lane, as it should always be, balancing all things.
Yeah, more wards have died in the last few minutes than there have been champions in the entire game. So that really underlines just how important it is. But here, AbsoluteZero are clamping up as 4, waiting for Bananas and Tuxedos, pushing out this middle lane, and there's the explosive cask out of Gragas, able to push Caitlyn into their middle inner turret, and it's an easy pickup for them.
Very, very strong engagement. There was no ward coverage from Bananas and Tuxedos, and there couldn't have been. There was that vision in the brush. AbsoluteZero knew there was no ward coverage there. Sat there as 5, went for I can't really call it a death brush, I'll call it the corner of doom. They flew straight over the wall. Explosive cast came out from half past 4.
Oh, they're actually going in here. Huz using the Cyclone, diving straight in exhaust in a very bad position. Grand Skyfall forced out of Wolfish EU to come in. Actually managed to pick up Veil here. May AbsoluteZero have gone in a little bit too deep. 2 of them go down. The rest of them has to run away, but there's a flash leap from Wolfish EU. Of course, there's a flash of Huz as well. He is able to survive this one, but there's the pillar, and he steps into a Caitlyn trap. That'll certainly be his downfall. Nice turnaround from Bananas and Tuxedos.
Very, very good Grand Skyfall coming out from Wolfish EU. Dealt heavy damage to almost all the members of AbsoluteZero. And now Bananas and Tuxedos are feeling sufficiently confident that they are going to head towards the Baron. They, of course, have a 5 versus 2 advantage, but members of AbsoluteZero are respawning quickly, so they're going to have to kill this very, very quickly.
Yeah, Huz is still dead, though, and he will be dead for 10 seconds, and even then, he will not be able to be there in time to actually attempt the steal. There's an ace in the hole coming out of Clever, trying to deal some damage onto Fi. Is he actually going to be able to pick them up here? Yes, he will, along with a little bit of help from Gragas' explosive cask. So Bananas and Tuxedos is actually forced to stop the Baron attempt because it did get quite shaky for them. Nice cooperation between Fi and Half Past Thor. They're able to pick up 2 kills for themselves and stop the Baron from happening.
Both of the carries from AbsoluteZero were still alive. I think that was one thing, a little bit too reckless play from Bananas and Tuxedos. Most of them were on low health. The 2 carries were still alive from AbsoluteZero, and they made them pay. Good explosive cask, good follow-up by Fi, and 2 kills picked up from it. AD carry and mid laner both went down from that.
Yep, very much indeed. So yeah, Bananas and Tuxedos, whenever they get themselves an advantage, they use it in a very, let's say, weird way. Because we did see that happen before, actually, during that dragon. It was pretty much the same scenario. They did go for the dragon, and they were starting to get pushed away a little bit, but they still wanted to finish that. And they just stuck around too long. And then gave up the dragon and the kill. They did not give up the Baron here, because there was not enough damage from AbsoluteZero to pick that one up from under their noses. But still, they gave up 2 kills, and they didn't get the Baron. They're now going to attempt to take up this dragon, and it does look like they will be able to. In the meanwhile, Renekton in the top lane, able to pick up a turret for himself.
Charmland on tail takes considerable damage from the Foxfire and an Orb of Deception coming out from Ixie, but I think that's a fairly even trade in terms of gold. Of course, Dragon Deal does give less gold earlier on in the game, past 30 minutes though, so it's approximately the same as it would have given back in Season 3 around 90 gold per player.
Yeah. It does get bigger the longer the game goes on, and we are 31 minutes in. Haven't been too many kills, both teams, well, I would say playing it safe, but Bananas and Tuxedos at some points have not really been playing it safe, and that's why they're behind again now, 2,000 gold, even though they were ahead after a nice turnaround in that middle lane while they were trying to save their middle inner turret, and they did pick up 3 kills for it. But the Baron call, while understandable, they did kill 3 people, among them the jungler. I think they underestimated the damage that was been able to be put out by Fi and Half Past Thor, and that cost them. Trum actually landing here from Ixie onto Gragas, but she's gonna have to move away as Veil attempts the Zenith Blade to land.
You have 5 members of AbsoluteZero grouping up in the middle lane. They may attempt to go for another siege on this middle lane. They do have vision on Wolfish EU, who does have the Grand Skyfall available, but he's not going to go for an engagement anytime soon, as Clever is still in his base. In the process of coming out, he does have the Phantom Dancer, as you said, but he's also finished the last wisp, which means that he does have a little bit of an item advantage, as we have seen that Fi has not yet finished his Trinity Force.
Yep. And AbsoluteZero, again going for the Death X, was the corner before, now it's the brush, but Bananas and Tuxedos are taking their time. I think they know what's up, because they neither have vision on that brush, nor do they have vision of any other members from AbsoluteZero. Fi now hanging around that middle lane, trying to be a juicy target for Bananas and Tuxedos to go in. And there, half-past throw actually goes in. Medallion has been used. Beautiful, explosive cascading 3, taking them very low. Hook does land onto Duffman. And here's the Grand Skyfall from Pantheon. Not sure if they want to actually go for that one. Actually been cancelled. Exhaust now going very low as Wukong goes in and uses the Cyclone, Numlock, Wolfish EU, and Clever in the middle of 3 people of AbsoluteZero. Yale still going aggressive, looking to let his blade under the turret, but there's been lots of low health members from Bananas and Tuxedos. There's another Grand Skyfall attempted. May be a visual bug. They actually managed to catch out Wolfish EU here. He was going aggressive onto him. Now Fide's actually moving in, trying to take down Clever. May have gone in a little bit too deep. There's the Grand Skyfall finally coming down. He lands into 4 people, able to pick up 1 kill, while Trundle picks up Lucian, who has been in a disadvantageous position. But they're able to pick up the middle inhibitor turret. And now they're going to back away from this one because that Numlocked looks very angry. And he will have his frozen domain available in just a second. Lands the pillar onto Vale. He used the Eclipse to get away from this one. There's the frozen domain. I do not think Vale will be able to get away from that. Or will he? Oh, he flashes over the wall after landing the Shield of Daybreak, and that saves his life.
Yeah, Clever just placing a ward over the Baron wall. It looks like Bananas and Tuxedos are going to go for it again.
Yep, there's the ward coming out of Vale. And this time, Gragas is dead, and Fi is dead. Pretty much those two that have prevented the Baron from happening the last time around. And the Baron is going on pretty quickly. First members of AbsoluteZero arriving will be Renekton and Wukong. Wukong is the jungler, yes, but they will have no opportunities to go on in on this and steal it. Or will they? Yes! He flashes over the wall! He gets to steal! He uses the Cyclone, but will get taken down pretty quickly. But that was so careless from Bananas and Tuxedos.
Yeah, Wolfish EU didn't actually use his smite at all because he wasn't even there. He was sat in the middle lane, which meant that it was pretty much child's play for Huz to flash over the wall, steal away the Baron with that smite. He did fall for it, as did Vale, which means it's actually a 3v5, but AbsoluteZero do have that Baron on them, which means that Bananas and Tuxedos are going to have to be a little bit careful.
And especially once Baron did go down, Half-Past Thor and Fi were back in the game. They have been revived, so the Baron's going to sit on them as well. And I'm not sure what Bananas and Tuxedos thought there. Wolfish EU, of course, he did go down defending that middle inhibitor turret after using that Grand Skyfall, so he was out of the equation for a while. But then he respawned and walked towards the mid lane. I think he was a little bit too confident that his team would be able to pick up the Baron, and thus his smite was not available. And thus, well, AbsoluteZero got it.
Yep, it's currently sat on 3 members. It's on Fi, Duffman, and Half-Past Thor, who did not fall in that Baron steal. Very good job, as I need to reiterate, by Huz. He's doing very well for his team, 6-2. And he has actually gone for that Black Cleaver, so he's now actually going to get a great amount of armor shred when he uses that Cyclone. Stack that with the completed Last Whisper that is on light. That means that Lucian and of course the Renekton as well is going to be dealing very considerable damage.
Well, indeed. Very considerable damage. We do see the blue buff getting donated over to Half-Past Thor. Dragon will be up in 10 seconds, and AbsoluteZero are in a nice position. They're going to move down to this lane, push down the turret, and then look for something here in Wolfish EU. May get caught here by 3 members. Then the blade lands onto him. He's not going to get away from this one. Flashes over the wall, but the solar flare does land. There's the culling, but the dragon respawns and tanks the damage for him. Another Zenith Blade attempted, and there's Exhaust with the lantern to get him out. Still, they give up the dragon pretty much.
Oh, give over turret. Good rotation by Bananas and Tuxedos. They take the middle turret while we saw AbsoluteZero trying to go for the dragon.
Well, they did not really try to go for the dragon. They just barreled straight towards that middle lane, trying to catch out Exhaust, Numlock, and Wolfish EU. And now they're in the top side of the map, leaving the dragon alive for now. But I think that's going to be a point of contention in the next few minutes.
Definitely, we already see Huz, Half-Past Thor, and Vale going down towards the dragon again. Ixie is aware of this, of course, and he is going to do his best to try and steal it away, but Huz does have that smite. He is level 16, so it is going to be dealing very considerable damage, 900 at this level. So I'm going to imagine it's going to be pretty big ass for Exy to steal this away.
Wolfishu meeting Duffman here. There's the smite out of Wukong. There's a Soul Flare stunning two of Bananas and Tuxedos. Yale going very low though. Will be able to pick up the kill here. Find the meanwhile picks up Exhaust. Veil will get picked up here as well by the Trundle. Exy has to flash away from this one. Wolfishu is going to be the next target for Huz. Calling used from Lucian. They're able to pick up Numlock here as well. And the last target is going to be Clever, who will go down for the ace in favor of AbsoluteZero. And look at those death timers. The middle inhibitor turret is already down. They are able to pick up this inhibitor for themselves, but there's no lane pushing in on the middle. There are also no minions pushing in on the top and bottom. Will they just attempt to tank this through is the question now. They seem to be wanting to pick this game up right here and right now. 10 seconds until exhaust is up. Duffman doing his best, trying to tank this one away, but it's just not enough. And there Huz goes down to the execution. Still, inhibitor pickup. Nicely played.
Yeah, Minions now showing up in the base of Bananas and Tuxedos, but again, the recklessness seems to be infecting people. It's actually going over for AbsoluteZero at this stage. Huz wanted to get that Nexus turret down, fell for it, but it's still a very, very profitable engagement. Ace for one basically happened in that fight.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to pick up this bottom outer turret here as well. It was standing there quite low for quite some while. Now it goes down, and that will, along with the top outer also being down, ensure that they will have some opportunities to rotate and push the next time they get an advantageous team fight.
Well, they do need to be looking around for fights. They have got decent ward coverage on the top side of Degel and on the bottom side of Bananas and Tuxedos, but overall, there are some very glaring areas where there are no wards at all. Blue side of Bananas and Tuxedos jungle, blue side of AbsoluteZero's jungle as well, which means that Bananas and Tuxedos are actually in quite of a disadvantage when it comes to Baron, which is just respawning in under 2 minutes. Only wards there are belonging to AbsoluteZero.
AbsoluteZero now has the opportunity to push both the middle and the bottom lanes, because both Caitlyn and Trundle are off that top lane trying to defend it from the incoming minions. And AbsoluteZero immediately rotating down there, taking control of the red buff side jungle of Bananas and Tuxedos, and now starting to push onto this bottom inner turret. They are able to push back the top lane, but we'll see if they pay for that with a bottom turret.
Well, the members of Bananas and Tuxedos are coming up quite quickly, but come too slowly. AbsoluteZero do have a great position to take out a turret. That pushes their turret advantage to 6-4, and their gold lead to just over 7,000.
Yeah,
rather.
They are really in the driver's seat right now. And as Baron moves up in 1 minute, they're gonna want to ward this jungle thoroughly to get the control of that area, because once they pick up that Baron, they will be able to turn the game into a win, potentially, if Bananas and Tuxedos does not try to contest it. Fi now sitting on his Guardian Angel. That's going to keep him alive, along with his nice damage output with that Trinity Force, Bloodthirster, and Last Whisper. He's certainly having a good game right now. Well, Caitlyn has gone with a Phantom Dancer here, so good job, Caitlyn. We think alike. But hasn't
also
picked
gone
up her
for a
fourth
second
item yet.
BF sword, which is interesting.
That's going to be an Infinity Edge, I suppose.
Items. Yeah,
Yes.
more than likely, but he is lacking in defense.
It's true.
Is not a good position to be in at this stage. The turret is his team is behind. 10 seconds before the second Baron comes up, and the members of AbsoluteZero are pretty much on the ball, right there to go for it the moment it respawns. So it's a matter of whether or not Wolfishu can land basically a very strong Grand Skyfall, basically.
Yeah, they're sitting in that brush, looking to do another death brush here, but it is warded, so Bananas Tuxedos knows what's up. Still, AbsoluteZero hanging around that Baron area. They really want to put pressure onto that and say, hey, Bananas Tuxedos, we're going to take Baron if you don't stop us.
But they aren't going to do that.
No, actually, what was that? The charm landed onto Veil while he was in the process of dragging himself to Exy. And so he flew for a bit and then just stopped dead in his tracks. But that little bit of pressure that AbsoluteZero put onto Bananas and Tuxedos will make them pick up the Baron now. But as Tuxedos, they don't want to contest this one. They're just going to barrel down the middle lane and say, come on guys, we need to try. But there's been some pings onto the river. by now, they really should have decided for something, but they're just hanging around the middle lane, not sure what to do. Minions are pushing into the inhibitor turret, but they're not there to push along. Thus, they have to back away, and AbsoluteZero gets an absolutely free dragon, or an absolutely zero money dragon. Ha! Baron. Yeah.
You know, the back out from Bananas and Tuxedos does mean that they will be able to contest this inhibitor, but against a Baroned up team from AbsoluteZero, I want him to say there's absolute zero chance of them winning it.
Hook lands onto 5, but they really can't go in onto this. Huz now diving in, not quite using a Cyclone yet. They first want to pick up this inhibitor, and now the bottom lane is pushing in as well. They're going to rotate down there, potentially pick themselves up another inhibitor plus turret. And right now, Bananas and Tuxedos in a dire situation because of their indecisiveness during that Baron attempt from AbsoluteZero.
Yeah, and we saw the members of Bananas and Tuxedos actually attempting to clear out the middle lane when there were no minions there. Bale actually taking considerable damage though, as Numlock chomps at him a couple of times.
Yeah, nobody really wants to go in, but here the hook lands onto Huz. Will they go in onto this one? No, they will not. Huz uses the decoy to get away. Bananas and Tuxedos are able to save their inhibitor turret from going down, but the next lane is already pushing in, which is the top lane. Once that comes through, there is still this turret standing there, but they're going to have to deal with this at some point. And that'll force them to take someone away or potentially lose a turret because that wave in the top lane is just so huge. And AbsoluteZero, they don't look like they will be going anywhere in the next few minutes.
Yep, they are definitely in full siege mode right now. Vi got great wave clear, can deal amazing damage to the turret if he is given an opportunity to do so. Unfortunately, I'm almost tempted to say it's a trap, as all the snap traps are right there by the entrance to their base. So they need someone to clear those before Farms to go in for that.
Yeah, the top lane minions are pushing in so heavily, and they're going to be able to take down Bananas and Tuxedos minions and some damage onto that turret. They're going to have to devote someone, or they will lose another turret. Now the question is, do they want to trade that? Do they want... Oh! Explosive cast over the wall, able to take down Eggsy. That's someone gone from Bananas and Tuxedos. AbsoluteZero will want to go in on this one. Flash out from Bailey after he uses the solar flare. Huz actually has to flash here as well. AbsoluteZero going a little bit too recklessly. Top lane is still pushing in steadily, but the minions are coming back. And now Bananas and Tuxedos, not having Eggsy anymore, are forced to back away. That both loses them their inhibitor turret, and also because minions were flowing in the mid lane, they lose their Nexus turret as well. This is not a good situation for Bananas and Tuxedos at all.
No, it is not, and we already see AbsoluteZero trying to rotate out of the base towards that top inner turret. They want to completely landslide this victory, leave nothing to chance. Definitely admirable from them. They are going to take down this turret with absolutely no difficulty. Down it goes. 9 for 4 in turrets right now. It looks like they're actually going to go back to base.
Yeah, they certainly got what they wanted. They got an inhibitor turret and an inhibitor down in that bottom lane. They got the inner turret up in that top lane. So once they go back, Baron will have expired by that point, but they're going to have such a good opportunity to push in to that top lane while super minions keep flowing in middle and bottom, which will require Bananas and Tuxedos to send someone there, or they will lose their second Nexus turret as well, and potentially even the game.
Definitely, more items coming out for some of the major players. We do see Duffman picking up a Thorn Mail, so trying to be a little bit of a thorn into Clever's side. Meanwhile, on the AD carry rolls, as you did say, Clever did pick up the Infinity Edge. Has also gone for a Spectre's Cowl. I'm more than convinced that it's basically going to go for the Banshee's Veil, try and stop any engagements onto him. Lucian, on the other hand, very confident of himself right now. He does, of course, have the Guardian Angel, so he's gone for a Blade of the Ruin King as well. Very heavy damage going to be coming out from him, even to the tankier members of Bananas and Tuxedos. Numlock, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, it's going to be so difficult for Bananas and Tuxedos to do anything right now, because there's full builds on both their middle laner and their AD carry, and they're able to put it down so much damage. But it's the AC just get bursted down by that explosive cask and rolling barrel combo from Gragas over the base walls. And now that AbsoluteZero are back on the map, of course they're going to push down this top lane. Or they might as well also want to rotate back to middle, because the inhibitor there just did respawn. So I think if they really want to play this to its fullest and landslide the victory, they're going to want to take down this middle inhibitor as well. So Bananas and Tuxedos will have the conundrum of either sending someone to defend the base or losing another inhibitor.
The inhibitor is basically going to go down with little contention, I think. We already see Huz beating away on it. Numlocked, chomping away a couple of times, but this is going down very quickly. Actually,
they're going in for it. There's the Grand Skyfall. They're looking to engage this fight, and Fight's actually going very low here. His Guardian Angel does get popped. Numlocked in the middle of AbsoluteZero. He's a menace to take down right now. Actually, AbsoluteZero going very low, but they may be able to turn this run around here as Culling takes down Exhaust very low. Huz is on his face. Gonna able to pick himself up as well. Numlock going down for a double kill for Lucian. In the meanwhile, Gragas gonna body slam Caitlyn out of the game. Next second, Nexus turret goes down. Damage is down onto the Nexus. It's not going to be the ace, but it's certainly going to be the game for AbsoluteZero as they pick up the win after 48 minutes and 9 seconds with a kill lead of 21-11 and a gold lead of 13,000. GG, well played.